In the headlines, a powerful magnitude 8.8 earthquake strikes in the far east of Russia, triggering tsunami alerts in several countries. Arctic correspondent Umayma HR will give us the latest updates live from Moscow later. As a powerful quake rocked Kamchatka, a team of doctors stood their ground mid-surgery, mid-crisis, life-saving courage caught on camera and now inspiring millions. The UK draws a red line ceasefire in Gaza, or the state of Palestine will be recognized. Israel fires back, calling it a threat to peace. With the UN pushing for action, will this be a breakthrough or the start of a new diplomatic standoff? Trump turns up the pressure, giving Russia just 10 days to agree to a Ukraine ceasefire or face new U.S. tariffs. The Kremlin responds and questions swirl over whether the warning will work. Calling the Philippine Supreme Court a lapdog of the Dutertes or a coddler of corruption. Now, disbarred lawyer Larry Gadon, Akbayan Party's Representative Percy Sendanya and Richard Haydarian are facing contempt charges. YouTube joins the banned list. Australia officially blocks the platform for users under 16. The move follows alarming data on harmful content, sparking debate and possible legal backlash. No more spoon-fed answers. OpenAI unveils study mode, a new tool designed to coach, quiz, and challenge students. It's AI with a purpose, but can it really reshape how we learn? The details later. I'm Fatima Nawzil. Newsline World starts now. A powerful magnitude 8.8 earthquake strikes in the far east of Russia, triggering tsunami alerts in several countries. Arctic correspondent Umayma HR reports live from Moscow. Umayma, can you give us the latest updates following the Kamchatka earthquake?
Earlier on Wednesday, a powerful, strong earthquake was recorded of a magnitude of 8.8 in the region of Kamchatka in Russia's far east, and it has already been added to one of the world's most powerful earthquakes, as well as the region's most destructive one since 1952, because this is a region where seismic activity is not uncommon. Now, the epicenter of the shock was 100 kilometers offshore with a depth of 17 kilometers. Another 30 aftershocks were also recorded with magnitudes ranging from 1 to 5. And as of now, tsunami warnings were also lifted in Russia's far east. But earlier, Russian authorities have evacuated people that were at most risk, and they've also urged citizens to remain on high ground until the threat of these repeated waves has passed. The governor of Kamchatka has also said that the earthquake was serious and it is the strongest that the region has seen in decades. Now, once the earthquake happened, tsunami waves started traveling away from the epicenter, and the latest on that is that the height of the tsunami in some areas on the coast of Kamchatka ranged anywhere between 10 to 15 meters, and the earthquake has also triggered waves in freshwater lakes in the region. And the aftershocks of a magnitude of over 7 are also expected in the upcoming weeks in Kamchatka. And the earthquake was so powerful that the tsunami waves that were a product of it were also hit parts of Japan and the United States as well. But when it comes to the nuclear power plants, the International Atomic Energy Agency says that no safety impact for these nuclear power plants in the Pacific coast. And as of now, other countries that are affected, such as Japan, have also put out evacuation orders for their citizens that could be affected with this earthquake's aftermath. But when it comes to Kamchatka Kamchatka itself, the Kremlin did confirm that there have been no casualties, and the Kremlin spokesperson here, Dmitry Peskov, did credit that solid building construction and the smooth working of the alert systems for the lack of these casualties. Emergency teams, rescue workers, and medical staff are also working around the clock to essentially assess the damage, restore these services, as well as assist the displaced residents. And the authorities have also taken steps, as we've seen, to ensure the safety of residents, including issuing evacuation orders and providing emergency supplies, as well as inspecting buildings. That's the situation as we know it for now.
Thank you, Maima, for those updates. Meanwhile, the powerful earthquake off Russia's far east has triggered tsunami waves along Japan's Pacific coast. Evacuation orders are in effect, transport has been disrupted, and coastal communities are on high alert. Here's the latest from Valdivina Gracia.
Tsunami waves are now hitting parts of Japan following a magnitude 8.8 earthquake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula early Wednesday. Thousands have been ordered to evacuate as authorities closely monitor the situation. The Japan Meteorological Agency, or JMA, confirmed wave activity along the Pacific coast, including ports in Iwate, Hokkaido, Miyagi, and as far south as Amami, Oshima, and Okinawa. More than 220 coastal municipalities have been placed under evacuation advisories. Residents in low-lying areas were urged to move to higher ground immediately. Transport was also affected. Ferry services and some flights in Hokkaido and Aomori were suspended, and Sendai Airport temporarily closed its runway. Local train services faced delays as a precaution. Nuclear facilities along the coast, including the Fukushima Daiichi plant, paused operations. Workers there were evacuated to higher ground, and the discharge of treated wastewater was halted. So far, no damage or irregularities have been reported. Several minor injuries occurred during evacuations in Hokkaido. Meanwhile, temperatures in some evacuation zones soared to 41 degrees Celsius, raising concerns over heat-related illnesses. Authorities continue to monitor the situation and urge the public to stay informed and follow official guidance. Preparedness remains key as tsunami alerts and precautionary measures stay in place along Japan's coastal areas. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Valdivina Gracia, SMNA News. Along Japan's coastal areas.
A major shift in the UK's Middle East policy may be on the horizon. Britain is sending a strong message to Israel and the Gaza crisis or face consequences. However, Jerusalem has strongly condemned London's move. Full details of this report from Sarah Santos.
At the United Nations headquarters in New York on Tuesday, United Kingdom Foreign Secretary David Lammy warned that the British government will officially recognize a Palestinian state in September unless Israel halts its military operations in Gaza and commits to a lasting two-state peace solution. Lammy spoke at a high-level conference on Palestine and emphasized Britain's determination to preserve the viability of two states living side by side.
His Majesty's government therefore intends to recognize the state of Palestine when the UN General Assembly gathers in September here in New York. We will do this unless the Israeli government acts to end the appalling situation in Gaza, ends its military campaign, and commits to a long, sustainable peace based on a two-state solution.
Lammy's statement aligns with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who made the same call during a press briefing at Downing Street on Tuesday. Starmer earlier called for an immediate ceasefire and humanitarian access in Gaza and urged Israel to stop annexing land in the West Bank. Over 200 UK lawmakers have backed the move, pushing the Prime Minister to act. In response, Israel's foreign ministry released a statement not only condemning the move, but saying that it was counterproductive to achieving a ceasefire deal. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went even further, releasing a strongly worded statement rejecting the idea of a Palestinian state altogether, saying it simply will not happen. The UK joins a growing list of nations like Spain, Ireland, Norway, and France who've already recognized or pledged to recognize Palestinian statehood amid the ongoing conflict, which reignited in October 2023. It can be remembered that on Monday, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres delivered a firm message: the two-state solution remains the only realistic path to lasting peace. Guterres urged Israel to fully commit to this vision and to stop actions that threaten the possibility of peace. UN General Assembly President Philemon Yang echoed the call, urging world leaders to make this moment a turning point. No more delays, no more excuses.
This conflict cannot be resolved through permanent war, nor through endless occupation or annexation. Peace and stability will only be achieved when Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in their own sovereign independent states in peace, security, and dignity.
Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa condemned Israel's military operations in Gaza, calling for immediate global action and a permanent ceasefire.
إنه ليس قدرا لشعبنا أن يعيش تحت الاحتلال، كما أنه ليس قدرا لنا وللإسرائيليين أن نعيش في حرب بلا نهاية. يمكننا أن نعيش في المستقبل في سلام وأمن جنبا إلى جنب إذا اتخذنا القرارات الصحيحة.
Notably absent from the conference were representatives from Israel and the United States who declined to attend. With the UN General Assembly in September fast approaching, the world watches closely. Will this be a turning point for peace or just another missed opportunity? For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Sara Santos, SM9 News.
Meanwhile, several groups marched from Liwasang Bonifacio to Padre Faura in Manila in support of the Supreme Court. MJ Mondihar tells us why.
Protests here in Metro Manila are usually led by anti-government groups criticizing the administration. But this Wednesday, July 30, the scene was different.
This group is going to march at the Supreme Court here in Manila, and they're urging the Filipino people to support the decision of the highest court in the Philippines, junking the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte.
From Liwasang Bonifacio to Padre Faura, the group marched in support of the Supreme Court's decision to dismiss the impeachment complaint filed against Vice President Sara Duterte.
Pinapakita natin sa taong bayan na may suporta po ang Supreme Court kasi pinalalabas nila na ang karamihan ng ating mga mamamayan ay ayaw doon sa ginawa ng Supreme Court. Malaki kasinungalingan po.
The Supreme Court maintained that the complaint violated the one-year bar rule. Under the law, only one impeachment complaint may be filed against the same official within a year.
Narito po kami ang tunay na tinig ng bayan. Naparinig po namin ang tunay na damdamin ng mga Pilipino na nagpapasalamat sila sa Korte Suprema at nananawagang igalang ang rule of law.
Following the decision, some critics labeled the Supreme Court as an alleged lapdog of the Duterte family. There are also threats of impeachment against justices who voted to dismiss the complaint. Several senators also objected and still want the case to proceed despite the High Court's ruling.
Tayo po ay naririto upang suportahan ang Korte Suprema. Kasi ang daming bumabanat sa Korte Suprema, hindi naman dapat banatan ng Korte Suprema. Ang desisyon nila, yan ang tagapagtaguyod ng konstitusyon ng bansa. Kapag hindi mo itataguyod ang Korte Suprema, mawawala ang rule of law.
Under the 1987 Constitution, the Supreme Court holds the power to decide on issues concerning rights enforceable by law. This is known as judicial power, including the duty to determine whether there has been grave abuse of discretion by Congress, the executive, or any other branch of government. The Supreme Court's decision carries the highest authority under the 1987 Constitution and cannot be disregarded by anyone, whether an individual, institution, or even the government itself. For God of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SM9 News.
For former Philippine Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s move to address issues in the government's flood control projects has come too late. Almar Fersuelo gave us the details.
In his fourth State of the Nation address or SONA, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. underscored the failures in several of the government's flood control projects. According to him, some of these projects seem to be nothing more than illusions. The president also vowed to investigate where the allocated funds for these projects went. However, former Department of National Defense Chief and former presidential candidate Norberto Gonzales believes that President's statement came too late. In an exclusive interview with SM9's Pulso ng Bayan, Gonzales insisted that the issue should have been addressed much earlier.
Palagay ko yung utos niya 1 year late at least. No, 1 year late. Kasi tandaan mo, isa sa mga sinabi niya yung tukol sa flood control, yung kanyang last zona. Di kung 1 week after, hindi ba binaha tayo? After the zona, nagsimula na ang baha at nagsimula na ang pagrereklamo tungkol sa flood control. Dapat noon tinignan niya.
It can be recalled that President Marcos Jr. faced criticism after boasting about thousands of flood control projects in his third zona, despite continued flooding in Metro Manila. Gonzales has said he expected that in the fourth zona, the administration would explain how it addressed the issue.
Sana, ang sinabi niya sa atin itong huling kuwan, report niya na kung paano niya inimbestigahan yung nangyari na, imagine, pinagyabang niya ng konti yung flood control natin last zona. Wala pang isang buwan. Binabaha na tayo eh. That should have triggered him to already assess the situation. Imbestigahan yung ano nangyari sa pinagmalaki niya na ating mga flood control programs at saka constructions.
Opo.
Bakit ngayon kaya lang sinabi? Pangalawang, bumaha pa ulit.
When asked whether the administration is serious about its anti-corruption campaign, Gonzales didn't mince words.
Hindi mawawalan tayo ng gobyerno kapag pinasunod niya yung anti-corruption campaign. No? Kasi halos lahat damay eh. No. Ewan natin, tingnan natin kung anong gagawin ng presidente this next 1 or 2 months. Kung talagang a-action siya. Yung sinabi niya, para kantsaw lang, mahiya naman kayo. Maawa naman kayo sa mga kababayan natin. Anong ibig sabihin nun? May pagbabago bang mangyayari?
Gonzales stressed that the real test lies ahead, not in the promises made, but in the actions taken. He urged the public to watch closely whether the administration follows through.
At kung titignan mo, paano niya sinagot yung mga problema in the last 3 years, iyan ang pattern. Magbabago ba siya? Ano ang kanyang gagawin ngayon? Nakita niya, natutunan daw siya eh. Nakita niya na yung mga problema. So, anong mga aksyon ng gobyerno ang mangyayari? I think the next 3 months will be important.
According to Gonzales, the coming months will be key in determining whether the administration will deliver concrete actions on the issues it has acknowledged. The public awaits not just investigations, but real solutions to the long-standing problems. For God, my beloved Philippines, Almar Forsuelo, SM9 News.
Up next, Trump turns up the pressure, giving Russia just 10 days to agree to a Ukraine ceasefire or face new U.S. tariffs. The Kremlin responds and questions swirl over whether the warning will work. And YouTube joins the banned list. Australia officially blocks the platform for users under 16. The move follows alarming data on harmful content, sparking debate and possible legal backlash. Stay tuned for more news.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Matunog ngayon ang salitang impeachment sa Pilipinas dahil sa nakambang impeachment trial kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero ang tanong ng taong bayan, ito ba ay para sa interes ng bansa o para sa politikal na motibo lamang? Sa ilalim ng saligang batas, may mga opisyal ng pamahalaan na maaring tanggalin sa pwesto sa pamamagitan ng impeachment. Kabilang dito ang Pangulo, Pangalawang Pangulo, mga mahistrado ng Korte Suprema, mga miyembro ng Constitutional Commission at ang Ombudsman. Maaaring ma-impeach ang mga nabanggit na opisyal dahil sa matinding paglabag sa konstitusyon, pagtataksil sa bayan, panunuhol, katiwalian, mabibigat na krimen o pagtataksil sa tiwala ng publiko. Sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, ilang matataas na opisyal na ang humarap sa impeachment trial. Noong taong 2000, si Pangulong Joseph Erap Estrada ang unang Pangulo ng bansa na humarap sa isang impeachment trial. Taong 2011 naman, si Ombudsman Mercedes Gutierrez ay naharap din sa impeachment dahil sa umano'y kapabayaan sa pag-aksyon sa mga kaso ng katiwalian. Hindi na siya humarap sa pagdinig sapagkat bago pa magsimula ang impeachment trial ay nagbitiw na ito sa pwesto. Noong 2012, si Chief Justice Renato Corona ay napatalsik naman mula sa Korte Suprema sa unang pagkakataon na impeach ang isang Chief Justice matapos mapatunayang hindi niya idineklara ang kanyang Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth o SALN ng buo. Ano nga ba ang proseso ng pag-impeach sa isang mataas na opisyal batay sa konstitusyon? Maaaring magsampa ng reklamo ang isang miyembro ng Kongreso o isang mamamayan basta may sumusuportang kongresista. Kapag 1/3 ng mga miyembro ng Kamara ang sumang-ayon, tuloy na agad ang proseso ng impeachment sa Senado. Sa sandaling maaprubahan ito ng House of Representatives, binubuo na ang Articles of Impeachment, isang dokumento na naglalaman ng mga aligasyon o batayan para sa impeachment. Pero tandaan, walang impeachment proceedings na maaaring isampa laban sa parehong opisyal ng higit sa isang beses sa loob ng isang taon. Ang Senado naman ang magsisilbing impeachment court kapag ang Pangulo ang nililitis, ang punong mahistrado ang namumuno, ngunit hindi bumoboto. 2/3 ng mga senador ang kailangan para hatulan ang opisyal. Anong parusa? Pagkakatanggal sa pwesto at diskwalipikasyon na makabalik sa gobyerno. Ang impeachment ay hindi simpleng usapin sa politika. Isa itong seryosong proseso na maaaring makaapekto sa kinabukasan ng bansa. Kaya sa panahong puno ng ingay at intriga, kinakailangan nating maging mapanuri, patas at maging makabayan. Bantayan natin ang katotohanan, pumanig tayo sa hustisya at higit sa lahat, unahin natin ang interes ng sambayanang Pilipino.
Para sa milyong-milyong Pilipinong bumoboto tuwing halalan, isang bagong tanong ang lumitaw. Kung ma-disqualify ang nanalong kandidato, dapat bang ang pumangalawa ang maupo? Isa itong tanong na nilinaw ng Korte Suprema kamakailan na nagbago sa interpretasyon ng electoral law sa Pilipinas. Sa sentro ng usapin ang tinatawag ng second placer rule. Ano nga ba ang second placer rule? Ang second placer rule ay isang doktrina na nagsasaad na ang kandidatong pumangalawa ay maaaring maupo sa posisyon kung madiskwalipika ang orihinal na nanalo. Sa 37 pahinang desisyon na inilabas ng Korte Suprema noong Abril 22 ukol sa kaso ni Sharifa Akil Mangudadato laban kay Dato Pax Ali Mangudadato, inabandona ang nasabing second placer rule mula sa desisyon sa Halos-Hos Jr. versus Commission on Elections noong 2012. Batay sa desisyon ng Korte, ang pagtatalaga sa isang kandidatong hindi nakakuha ng mayorya o pinakamaraming boto at ipinoproklama bilang nanalo sa kabila ng tahasang pagtanggi ng mga botante ay isang paglabag sa mismong diwa ng demokrasya. Sa halip, ang patakaran ng succession sa ilalim ng Local Government Code ang ipatutupad. Ibig sabihin, kapag idineklarang hindi kwalipikado ang nanalong kandidato, itinuturing bakante ang posisyon. At batay sa Section 44 at 45 Local Government Code, ang susunod sa linya sa mga halal na opisyal ang dapat pumalit. Ayon sa Korte Suprema, ito ang mas tumutugma sa mga prinsipyo na isang republikang pamahalaan at mas tugma sa totoong boto ng taong bayan. Sa pagtalikod sa second placer rule, pinagtitibay ng Korte Suprema ang prinsipyo ng tunay na representasyon. Dito, ang batas ay hindi pumapabor sa posisyon kundi sa pasya ng sambayanan.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo, once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities. His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
Hawaii, thousands rushed for higher ground as sirens echoed through the islands. While officials say the worst may be over, the threat is far from cleared. Prince Tripoli for the news.
Beneath the ocean, a magnitude 8.8 quake striking near Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula at 7:30 a.m. Philippine time. Within minutes, a wall of water began building offshore and a race to warn the Pacific began. In the United States, Hawaii, along with parts of California, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska reported wave impacts ranging from minor surges to localized flooding. In Hawaii, the response was immediate. Tsunami alerts were activated. Sirens blared and roads flooded with the residents and tourists scrambling for safety. By 7:17 p.m. Philippine time, the first waves began reaching the islands. Officials warned to take action now. The largest wave, over 5 feet, hit Kahului on Maui's north-central coast, where high tide turned the surge into street-level flooding. Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi ordered residents to move to higher ground, and Governor Josh Green urged immediate evacuation of coastal areas, calling the threat potentially destructive. By 7:39 p.m. Philippine time, the tsunami warning was downgraded to an advisory, and evacuation orders were lifted. But the danger is not over. Travel across the islands came to a standstill. All flights in and out of Maui were canceled overnight, leaving over 200 travelers stranded at the terminal. Hawaiian Airlines has since resumed operations. Alaska Airlines plans to follow. The sense of urgency remains. Authorities are still monitoring wave behavior, looking for signs of aftershocks or delayed surges. And until the all clear is officially issued, beaches remain off limits. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, your citizen correspondent, SMNA News.
US President Donald Trump is once again making headlines, this time setting a new timeline for a potential ceasefire in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Speaking to reporters aboard his flight from Scotland on Tuesday, Trump said the new deadline is just 10 days away.
Mr. President, yesterday you mentioned that you would change the Russia deadline to 10 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Good. How do you communicate? We have a scoop. And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Earlier this month, Trump floated a 50-day deadline, but experts have questioned the effectiveness of tariffs, citing limited trade between the U.S. and Russia. The Kremlin responded by saying it has taken note of Trump's remarks, but insists it remains committed to a peaceful resolution in Ukraine. Trump also spoke about his latest discussions with Chinese President Xi Jinping, calling them very good, and revealed a possible in-person meeting before the end of the year. As for the Middle East, Trump denied discussing the UK's move to recognize Palestine with Prime Minister Keir Starmer and said he's unlikely to attend the G20 summit in South Africa, following a previous clash with President Cyril Ramaphosa over controversial remarks about so-called white genocide. The Labor Department is ramping up efforts to deliver long-term jobs for Filipinos, partnering with TESDA to expand nationwide skills training and certification. The move follows President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s call in his SONA to boost employment and create more livelihood opportunities across the country. Carla Abellano reports.
Labor Secretary Bienvenido Laguasma reaffirmed the government's focus on employment facilitation through both job generation and workforce development. He underscored the importance of a strong partnership between workers and entrepreneurs, calling it the backbone of DOLE's national employment strategy. According to the Secretary, DOLE continues to carry out employment facilitation activities across the country in cooperation with various government agencies, including the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD. One major initiative under this push is the Trabaho sa Bagong Pilipinas program, launched earlier this year as part of a wider response to unemployment. Among the key efforts, expanded job fairs, active promotion through PhilJobNet, and youth-targeted programs like Jumpstart Philippines, the special programs for employment of students, and the government internship program. DOLE also stressed the importance of partnerships with local government units and the private sector to ensure the job opportunities reach remote areas and marginalized sectors.
Dito po pwedeng mag-access ang mga kabataan kasi ang mga kabataan ay napakahusay at adept sa technological development, sa mga innovation. So, pwede po kayong mag-access yan dahil ang mga programa ng Department of Labor and Employment tumutukoy sa youth employability ay na makikita po natin na pwedeng mag-access ang ating mga kabataan.
As part of the employment strategy, DOLE has tightened its collaboration with TESDA by providing free training and skills assessments for job seekers. TESDA Director General Kiko Benitez said their joint efforts with DOLE go beyond training as they help develop long-term human capital. According to Benitez, their programs include certification programs for senior high school students, giving them better access to jobs after graduation.
Malaking bagay po para sa senior high school na sa ngayon, according to the surveys of industry and business, 4 out of 5 companies are willing to hire senior high school students kung meron ho silang certification ng kanilang skills.
For God and My Beloved Philippines, Carla Abellana, SMNI News.
Disbarred lawyer Larry Gadon, Akbayan Representative Percy Sandania, and Richard Heydarian could face penalties from the Supreme Court. This comes after being charged with indirect contempt over their remarks against the High Court's ruling on the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. Margaret Gonzalez for more details.
Lawyers Attorney Mark Tolentino and Attorney Rolex Suplico filed a petition before the Supreme Court asking to hold Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sandania and Richard Heydarian in direct contempt. This comes after their criticisms and use of inappropriate language against the justices. Sandania and Heydarian refused to accept the Supreme Court's unanimous decision to dismiss the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. According to the ruling penned by Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, the impeachment complaint violated the 1-year bar rule and the complaint lacked due process. The Supreme Court declared the articles of impeachment unconstitutional. According to Attorney Tolentino, as officers of the court, it is their responsibility to uphold the integrity of the country's highest judicial institution following the filing of their petition.
For example, kay Percival Sandania, sinabihan niya Supreme Court na Supreme Cuddler ng mga corrupt ng mga opisyales. Second, itong si Richard Heydarian nag-post sa Facebook and sa Twitter niya na lahat daw ng mga justices ng Supreme Court appointee ng mga Duterte, therefore hindi independent ang Supreme Court. Bilang abogado, as an officer of the court, we have the obligation to defend the integrity and the independence of the highest court of the land.
Meanwhile, disbarred lawyer Larry Gadon is also facing a similar complaint for calling the Supreme Court a lapdog of the Dutertes. The complaint was filed by Attorney Ferdinand Topacio.
3 beses sa kanyang panayam, ang Korte Suprema ay tuta ng mga Duterte. Siningle out pa niya ang punong mahistrado ng kataas-taasang hukuman. At 3 beses niyang sinabi, I was scandalized to be candid sapagkat bagamat meron tayong freedom of expression and sometimes I have also criticized some decisions of the court, there should be boundaries. Pagka gano'n na pong masyadong vitriolic na at vituperative, masyadong maangas na at libelous na po yun eh. hindi po natin maaaring palampasin.
Duterte Youth Party List Chairman Ronald Cadema is also planning to file a separate complaint before the Supreme Court against Attorney Rene Co of a Kabataan Party List.
Pag hindi mo pa pinagtanggol ang Supreme Court, ano pa ang basihan ng hustisya sa bansa? Lahat ng law students, lahat ng abogado sa bansa, ang hirap ng kanilang pag-aaral para lang ipaulit-ulit sa kanila na napaka-importante ng konstitusyon at napaka-importante ng Korte Suprema. At pag sila ay naging abogado, saan sila nanunumpa? Dito. At anong tawag sa kanila? Officer of the Court. Ibig sabihin, opisyal ka rin ng Korte, ng Supreme Court. Di ba? Abogado ka ng kalaban, abogado ka ng kakampi, kayo ay merong tungkulin ipagtanggol ang Korte Suprema. Kaya doon sa naging desisyon ng Korte Suprema na sinasabi nilang unconstitutional yung impeachment proceeding laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte, makita ninyo, appointee ni Marcos, appointee ni Aquino, appointee ni Duterte, unanimous sila lahat magkakasama. Therefore, it is not a political question, political vote.
Meanwhile, Gadon fired back at Topacio, saying he's only making noise for publicity. He challenged Topacio to a singing competition. Topacio insisted that this is not a laughing matter.
Po, kaibigan ko yang si Atty. Gadon. In fact, lagi kami nagko-concert niyan. But kasamang Larry, I'm sorry, but this is no laughing matter. I am an officer of the court and as such, isang katungkulan ko na ipagtanggol ang karangalan at reputasyon ng ating kataas-taasang hukuman. So I'm sorry, I hope we can still be friends. Sa akin, this is nothing personal. This is part of my duties as an officer of the court. I had to do this. I hope you understand. Alam ko na kung ikaw ay abogado pa rin hanggang ngayon at ako ang gumawa nito, if the situation were reversed, you would have done the same thing. Pero kung gusto mo magkantahan, wala pong problema sa atin. Passion natin yan.
If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the petitions, the respondents could face fines for indirect contempt. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Margaret Gonzalez, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, Australia has officially added YouTube to the list of platforms banned for users under 16, reversing an earlier exemption and strengthening what it calls a world-first move to protect minors online. Details of this report from Carlo de la Peña.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced on Wednesday in Sydney that teenagers under 16 will be blocked from accessing YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, X, and a number of other social media platforms across the country. This comes after new data revealed that over 1/3 of minors reported harmful content on the video sharing platform.
We know that social media is doing social harm, and my government and this parliament is prepared to take action to protect young Australians.
The ban, which takes effect this December, previously covered platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and X. YouTube, originally exempted due to its popularity in classrooms, is now included following pressure from the country's internet regulator and mounting public concern. The decision follows a survey that found 37% of minors encountered harmful content on YouTube, the highest among platforms assessed. YouTube, owned by Alphabet, has pushed back, maintaining that it is a video sharing service, not a social media platform, and is widely used on television screens rather than mobile devices. Despite that, critics argue YouTube shares the same features as other banned apps, including content algorithms and interactive features, making its exclusion inconsistent. Last week, YouTube reportedly warned the government that a legal challenge may follow. Under the new rule, Australians under 16 will no longer be allowed to hold accounts on YouTube on any other major social media platform. Teachers and parents, however, many still access YouTube for educational purposes. The government is awaiting results of age verification technology tests, which will guide enforcement moving forward. Platforms that fail to comply may face fines of up to 49.5 million Australian dollars. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
For sports news, a crucial absence for Team England. Ben Stokes will not suit up for the final test against India after being sidelined by a shoulder injury. And LeBron James is running it back with the Lakers, officially picking up his $52 million player option for the upcoming NBA season. But what does this mean for his future in Los Angeles and the league? Let's find out in James San Pedro's report.
Just days before the final test of the England-India series, a major setback hits the home team. England captain Ben Stokes has been ruled out of the fifth and final test match against India at the Oval due to a shoulder injury sustained in a previous game. The England and Wales Cricket Board made the official announcement confirming that Stokes needs more time for recovery and will not be fit to play in Thursday's match at the Oval. Stokes, known for his leadership and all-around brilliance, suffered the injury during the fourth test. Medical staff advised rest to avoid further damage. With his absence, England is expected to name a stand-in captain as they prepared for a high-pressure finale in front of home crowd. India currently holds momentum in the series, and without Stokes, England may face an even steeper challenge to end the tour on a strong note. After much anticipation, LeBron James has officially opted into his $52 million player option, confirming his return to Los Angeles Lakers for at least one more season. The move effectively silenced talk of retirement or any dramatic free agency switch for now. But this isn't simply about securing another lucrative deal. At 40 years old, and heading into his historic 22nd NBA season, LeBron's decision reflects a deeper intent. There's unfinished business in Los Angeles. Many observers believe this gives the Lakers an opportunity to retool their roster for one more serious title run with the league's most accomplished active player. Adding to the intrigue is the presence of his son, Bronny James, recently drafted by the Lakers. It brought suit up and shared the floor this season. They would make NBA history as the first father-son duo to play together in a regular season game. This is James and Pedro, bringing you the latest sports news.
Isang digmaan na parang pelikula. Missiles, drones, at bunker-busting bombs. Pero ang epekto, totohanan. Daan-daang patay, wasak na infrastruktura, at nagmahal ang presyo ng langis na nakaapekto sa pandaigdigang merkado. Ito ang tinaguriang 12-day war o 12 araw na gyera sa pagitan ng Iran at Israel. Isang gyerang nagbago sa takbo ng politika, ekonomiya at seguridad, hindi lang sa Middle East kundi sa buong mundo. Hunyo 13, 2025, binomba ng Israel ang Iran para pigilan ang umano'y pagbuo ng nuclear weapons. Gumanti ang Iran. Libu-libong missiles at drones ang pinakawalan na ikinamatay ng 28 sa Israel. Sa loob ng 12 araw, kaliwat ka ng opensiba ang inilunsad ng magkabilang panig. Hunyo 22, sumali na ang Amerika. 3 nuclear sites sa Iran ang binomba gamit ang B-2 stealth bombers sa Isfahan, Fordo at Natanz. Sabi ng US, layo nitong hadlangan ang nuclear program ng Iran. Pero para sa Tehran, ito raw ay pagtalikod sa diplomasya. Hunyo 24, inanunsyo ni US President Donald Trump ang ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at Iran. Pero ilang oras pa lang, muling nagkagirian. May ulat ng missile strike ng Iran na itinanggi nito kaya gumanti ang Israel. Sa huli, tumigil din ang putukan. Parehong panig, nagdeklara ng tagumpay. Parehas ding nagturuan kung sino nga ba ang lumabag sa ceasefire. Ngunit para kay Trump, pareho lang lumabag ang dalawang panig. Bandang gabi ng Hunyo 24, tumalab na rin sa wakas ang ceasefire. Ngunit habang pansamantalang natahimik ang putukan, nananatiling mainit ang mga tanong. May saysay pa ba ang diplomatikong kasunduan kung nauuna pa rin ang dahas? Marami ang umaasang
ang tigil putukan ay simula ng mas mahinahong diskusyon. Pero ang duda nananatili. Sa Israel, nagtago ang mga sibilyan sa mga bomb shelter. Habang sa Iran, maraming taga-Tehran ang napilitang umalis sa kanilang mga tahanan patungong Turkey at Armenia para makaligtas sa gulo. Sa Iran, ayon sa Health Ministry nila, 610 na ang patay, 4,746 ang sugatan. Sa Israel, 28 ang nasawi ayon sa Army Radio. Marami rin sa military commander at scientist ng Iran ang nasawi. Sa Israel, umabot sa 8.7 bilyong dolyar ang kabuang gasto sa digmaan. Katumbas ito ng halos 725 milyong dolyar kada araw sa loob ng 12 araw. Habang ang Iran, nahirapang makabangon dahil sa nasirang pasilidad. Matapos ang deklarasyon ng ceasefire, nakatutok na ulit ang puwersa ng Israel sa Gaza. Ang Iran, walang plano na agad makipagnegosasyon sa Estados Unidos. Bagaman sinuspindi rin nito ang muling pakikipagnegosasyon sa US patungkol sa kanilang nuclear program, bukas pa rin ang pinto ng diplomasya. Tuloy pa rin ang nuclear program ng Iran na iginiit nilang para sa mapayapang layunin. Git pa nila, lalo pa raw paiitingin ang pagsulong nito sa gitna ng tensyon. Sa kasagsagan ng tensyon, nagbanta ang Iran na isasara ang Strait of Hormuz, isang makitid na lagusan kung saan dumadaan ang halos 20% ng langis sa buong mundo. Bagamat hindi pa ito isinara, nagdulot na ng panik ang banta ng Iran. Tumaas ang presyo ng langis. Umabot sa $78 kada barrels ang crudo. Damang-dama ng buong mundo ang epekto ng digmaan. Ang pandaigdigang merkado nataranta. Sa kasagsagan ng gyera, bumagsak ng 2% ang US S&P 500 at tumaas ng 30% ang gastos sa maritime insurance na nagpabigat sa kalakalan sa Asya. Sa Pilipinas, na umaas sa imported na langis, lalong tumaas ang presyo ng gasolina, LPG at bilihin na nagpalala sa inflation. Ang mga Pinoy na nasa Middle East na nais bumalik sa Pilipinas dahil sa takot na hirapan makauwi. Kapag tumataas ang presyo ng langis, sumasabay din ang gasto sa produksyon ng mga bilihin, kaya't ramdam ang epekto nito hindi lang sa petrolyo, kundi sa buong ekonomiya. May panukalang fuel subsidy para sa mga PUV. Pero sapat kaya ito? Isa itong paalala na kahit malayo ang labanan, ramdam.
Para sa milyong-milyong Pilipinong bumoboto tuwing halalan, isang bagong tanong ang lumitaw. Kung ma-disqualify ang nanalong kandidato, dapat bang ang pumangalawa ang maupo? Isa itong tanong na nilinaw ng Korte Suprema kamakailan na nagbago sa interpretasyon ng electoral law sa Pilipinas. Sa sentro ng usapin ang tinatawag ng second placer rule. Ano nga ba ang second placer rule? Ang second placer rule ay isang doktrina na nagsasaad na ang kandidatong pumangalawa ay maaaring maupo sa posisyon kung madiskwalipika ang orihinal na nanalo. Sa 37 pahinang desisyon na inilabas ng Korte Suprema noong Abril 22 ukol sa kaso ni Sharifa Akil Mangudadato laban kay Dato Pax Ali Mangudadato, inabandona ang nasabing second placer rule mula sa desisyon sa Halos-Hos Jr. versus Commission on Elections noong 2012. Batay sa desisyon ng Korte, ang pagtatalaga sa isang kandidatong hindi nakakuha ng mayorya o pinakamaraming boto at ipinoproklama bilang nanalo sa kabila ng tahasang pagtanggi ng mga botante ay isang paglabag sa mismong diwa ng demokrasya. Sa halip, ang patakaran ng succession sa ilalim ng Local Government Code ang ipatutupad. Ibig sabihin, kapag idineklarang hindi kwalipikado ang nanalong kandidato, itinuturing bakante ang posisyon. At batay sa Section 44 at 45 Local Government Code, ang susunod sa linya sa mga halal na opisyal ang dapat pumalit. Ayon sa Korte Suprema, ito ang mas tumutugma sa mga prinsipyo na isang republikang pamahalaan at mas tugma sa totoong boto ng taong bayan. Sa pagtalikod sa second placer rule, pinagtitibay ng Korte Suprema ang prinsipyo ng tunay na representasyon. Dito, ang batas ay hindi pumapabor sa posisyon kundi sa pasya ng sambayanan.
Alam mo ba, tuwing Hulyo, ipinagdiriwang natin ang buwan ng nutrisyon. Bakit mahalaga ang tamang nutrisyon? Simple lang, para maging malakas, masigla at malayo sa sakit. Ang tamang pagkain gaya ng gulay, prutas at sapat na kanin ay susi sa malusog na katawan at magandang kinabukasan. Kumain ng wasto, uminom ng maraming tubig at umiwas sa junk foods. Ngayong buwan ng nutrisyon, piliin natin ang masustansya. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Hoy, magnanakaw! Tingnan! Pulis to! Hala, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Hoy, magnanakaw!
Magnanakaw! Magnanakaw!
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Eto ang sayo.
Wow! Ang bait ng magnanakaw!
Eto naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko! Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Di ba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
OpenAI is rolling out a new tool for students, this one aimed at making AI a study buddy, not a shortcut. Let's find out exactly what this is in Justine Nazaro's report.
The AI company behind ChatGPT has launched a new feature called Study Mode, a learning tool designed to help students think critically instead of just giving them the answers. It's now available to users on free, Plus, Pro, and Team plans and will be introduced soon to ChatGPT Edu accounts. The feature works across all platforms from iOS and Android to the web and desktop apps. Once turned on, Study Mode tailors its responses to the user's skill level. It starts with a few questions to gauge what the learner knows, then walks them through increasingly complex concepts step by step. It also includes knowledge checks to reinforce understanding along the way. Students can upload course materials like PDFs or images, and if memory is enabled, ChatGPT can personalize answers using previous sessions. The launch comes as debates heat up around how AI is used in classrooms. Some educators welcome the move, calling it a responsible way to support learning. Others are more cautious, warning that even with study mode, students might still rely too heavily on AI instead of thinking for themselves. OpenAI says it created study mode in partnership with teachers and learning experts with the goal of transforming ChatGPT from a quick fix tool into a collaborative learning partner. Right now, it's still in the early stages, so users may notice a few hiccups. But OpenAI says future updates will bring visual aids, progress tracking, and more personalized feedback. This is Justine Nazario, your citizen correspondent reporting for God in my beloved Philippines.
China is demanding faster action from Japan in destroying chemical weapons that were left behind during the Second World War. Beijing says that despite progress, the destruction process is seriously delayed and abandoned weapons still threaten Chinese lives and land. Here's Jane Cognita for the full story.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of China's victory over Japan in the War of Resistance and the 26th anniversary of its chemical weapons memorandum with Tokyo. China said Japan must not forget history and must act now. Speaking from Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Go Jiakun described Japan's wartime legacy as not only historical, but still dangerous today. Go Jiakun said Japan's use and abandonment of chemical weapons in China remains one of the most serious crimes committed during its invasion in the 1930s and 1940s. Gu went on to say that China has long urged Japan to completely and thoroughly eliminate these weapons under international law, particularly the Chemical Weapons Convention and a bilateral agreement signed in 1999. He noted that while Japan has retrieved over 160 chemical weapons and destroyed most of them, the process remains far behind schedule, raising concerns over Japan's commitment. These weapons, says China, still pose a real and present danger to public safety and environment, even now, 8 decades after the war ended. This has been Jane Cognita, your citizen correspondent for God and my beloved country, the Philippines.
Senate President Francis Escudero clarified that the Senate has not dropped the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. He says a formal decision on how to proceed will be made on August 6, following the Supreme Court's ruling that declared the case unconstitutional for violating the one-year bar rule. This report from Sara Santos.
Senate President Francis Chis Escudero announced that the Senate will decide on August 6th what action to take on the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte following the Supreme Court's ruling declaring the case unconstitutional. Escudero clarified this to set straight news reports claiming that the Senate had already dropped the impeachment trial. During a caucus on Tuesday, senators agreed to take up the issue next week in light of the Supreme Court's unanimous decision, which said the impeachment case violated the constitutional one-year bar rule. He explained that senators sitting as impeachment judges need time to study the court's 97-page ruling along with other concurring opinions before making a decision. As a lawyer, Escudero noted that the Supreme Court's ruling must be respected because it is immediately executory. He added that while the House of Representatives may still file a motion for reconsideration, the timeline for decision is unclear, and there's a slim chance the ruling will be reversed since it was unanimous. Escudero emphasized that their decision must be based on what is right, not on partisan pressure or public opinion. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, Sara Santos, SMNI News.
The Department of Science and Technology is confident that the Philippines no longer needs to remain a victim of disasters. To show how this can be achieved, the agency laid out concrete steps to prepare for the hazards brought about by climate change. Cherilyn Lanillo has the news.
From deadly typhoons and floods to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, natural disasters regularly test the resilience of Filipinos. But the Department of Science and Technology says it's time to change that perspective. DOST Secretary Renato Solidum believes that through science, technology, innovation, and disciplined collaboration, the country has what it takes to rise above disasters.
Kami sa Department of Science and Technology at ng buong scientific community ay naniniwala na ang Pilipinas sa ngayon ay, ang tingin sa atin ay biktima parate ng mga kalamidad. Pero sa siyensya, teknolohiya at inobasyon at maigting na pagtutulungan at disiplina, ang mga Pilipino ay pwedeng manalo sa mga posibleng trahedya. We can become victors and not victims of disasters.
The DOST emphasizes that with the use of modern hazard monitoring systems, accurate forecasting tools, reliable communication platforms, and disaster-ready technology, greater damage can be prevented and more lives can be saved. Solidum explained that the first step is identifying the hazards present in each locality, from natural calamities to the effects of climate change. A key priority, identifying local hazards, in partnership with FIVOLCS, PAGASA, DNR, and several universities. Hazard mapping and risk assessments have intensified nationwide.
Marami tayong mga Doppler radar, kailangan din siguraduhin na dagdagan pa natin ito. Ganon din po sa pag-modernize ngayon ng FIVOLCS, dadagdagan pa ang mga seismic stations. Dadagan pa natin yung mga malalakas na lindol ay dapat nating masubukan na malaman kaagad kung nasaan yung lindol na yon, baka magka-tsunami.
For real-time hazard information, DOST developed GeoRisk Philippines, a hazard information system. Its mobile tool, Hazard Hunter, allows users to check natural risk in their area in under a minute using just a phone or computer.
Ito po yung Hazard Hunter. In less than 1 minute, malalaman nyo kung ang mga panganib na tatama. Kung ikaw ay politiko, barangay captain, mayor, governor, pwede mong tingnan. Per barangay, per town, per province, ano yung mga lugar na tatamaan? Ilang tao? Age na mga tao? Bata? Matanda?
In disaster zones without signal, DOST's Mobile Command and Control Vehicle, or MOCOV, supports emergency response, communication, and medical aid, even in areas with no mobile signal. As part of its long-term solution, DOST is also pushing for the science, technology, and innovation for circular economy framework, which aims to convert waste, such as plastics and agricultural byproducts, into valuable and income-generating resources through scientific innovation. Charity Ninilio, your citizen correspondent, reporting for God and my beloved Philippines.
Kung ikaw ay politiko...
For a showbiz update, over 2 decades after it first won the hearts of audiences around the world, Bend It Like Beckham is officially getting a sequel. Meanwhile, another sequel is set to capture everyone's hearts. The Devil Wears Prada is back. Here's Sigrid Castañeda for Showbiz News.
Bend It Like Beckham 2, it's finally happening. Director Gerder Chada has confirmed that a sequel to the 2002 hit is in the works and is set to release in 2027, just in time for the film's 25th anniversary and the FIFA Women's World Cup. Chada is teaming up with her longtime co-writer Paul Mayeda Burgess and U.S. women's team coach Emma Hayes to bring a fresh and authentic take on women's football. The original stars Keira Knightley as Jules, Parminder Nagra as Jess, and Archie Panjabi as Pinky are all in the loop and waiting on the final script. No word yet on whether it'll be a movie or a limited series. But one thing's for sure, the iconic football film is set for a major comeback. Fashion, drama, and the queen of all comebacks, The Devil Wears Prada is officially returning to the big screen. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, and Emily Blunt are reuniting for the much-anticipated sequel to the 2006 hit. Anne set the internet buzzing after posting an Instagram photo last July 21, teasing fans with the caption, "Andy Socks 2025. Behind-the-scenes snaps have also surfaced, fueling excitement for the return of the stylish and savage world of Runway magazine. The original film became a pop culture icon, with Meryl's performance as Miranda Priestley earning her an Oscar nod and a Golden Globe win. Now, nearly 20 years later, the fierce trio is back, just in time for the sequel's release in May 2026. So polish those heels and prep your best fashion face. The runway is calling and Miranda is ready. This is Stella Maris, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
Meanwhile, even in the face of disaster, some acts of courage stand out in Russia's far east as a massive magnitude 8.8 earthquake shook the Kamchatka Peninsula. The surveillance footage from a cancer hospital has gone viral, showing doctors continuing a life-saving surgery during the tremor. The CCTV footage from Kamchatka Cancer Dispensary shows the operating room shaking violently, yet the team held steady, protecting the patient and pushing through. Despite the violent shaking, the surgical team acted quickly to protect the patient and maintain sterile conditions. Kamchatka's health minister confirmed that the patient is now safe and recovering well. He lauded the doctor's calm, fearless response in the face of chaos. The video is now going viral, capturing a moment of pure life-saving resolve, the kind of courage and professionalism, even as the ground trembled beneath them. And before we end, we'll be inspired with the words of the song. I have faith that whatever the Father says will happen. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Fatima Nawzil. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.